looking to make an acquisition. I want to buy this business. You haven't finalized funding, but you're pre-approved. I got personal credit, I got business credit, and I got the SBA. You got a business buying website. I mean, I want to buy this business. You fill out the contact information, email, all of that stuff. I wonder when the millions are going to start flowing. Huh? You wait for a broker to contact you. You wait. I'm waiting for a broker to contact. I'm waiting. You get a vague email. You're just waiting in front of a computer, in front of a phone, waiting. You get a broker. You get the runaround. You get all of this stuff. You need answers. I'm questioning, just like the word question, but without an I. Because it's not all about me. It's about the second and third order effects. Not all deals are blessings. That's one thing I had to learn the hard way, right? Some of them really just kind of boil down to distractions, and other ones, they're just a disguise for what you really actually want to do. Maybe a symptom of what you actually want to do. One of the real things that I had to really focus on was actually figuring out how to get clarity, how to ask questions, and honestly, it was just the questions that I had to ask. Everybody, anybody I talked to, hey, what you know about this? Have you ever heard of this? What you know about that? What did you do when you did this? I'm just asking questions. Maybe that's just my curiosity. Maybe that's one of those things that they say curiosity killed the cat. Maybe whatever the case may be. But for me, it's always paid off. All right. One of the things that I found out, though, is in asking all those questions, you start to get a lot of knowledge. Sometimes it seems like having all that knowledge it makes you more aware, and sometimes it feels like it makes you more bitter. It's not bitter. You're just being strategic. My name is Question, just like the word question, but without an I, because it's not all about me. All right, it's all about what it is that I'm building, which is the second and third order. When I look at second and third order, I take the title from when I was a young private in the Army, seeing officers and high-ranking NCOs come up with all these plans, getting all this stuff that's got to get done. And they would always ask that question, like, all right, great, this is a good idea. What's the second and third order effects? What's going to happen after you do this? What happens after that happens? What happens after that happens? Money is not the metric. Yeah, we're going to make money for sure, right? But it's not the metric. That's not the only thing that we're looking for, right? Of course, you want to talk about KPIs and things of that nature. All of that stuff is important. But ultimately, what we have to get, what we need, is legacy. All right? Everybody want to talk about generational wealth. How are you going to build that generational wealth? Are you finna start up a restaurant and your kids are going to run that restaurant? Listen, one of the things that I saw that we are not represented well in is manufacturing. Manufacturing, consulting, acquisitions. One of the things that I learned, rest in peace Job Corps, when I was in Job Corps as a young as a young whippersnapper, a young guy in the streets, Texas, was upskilling, right? Learning these skills that you have to have that are going to pay you to get a job and all these other things. Getting these skills, you have to have these skills. And so with that thought process, I began to think, okay, well, how can we upskill our community? A big thing that I hear is that Americans don't want to do these jobs. Americans are lazy, this and that. I beg the difference. I don't think that's true. I think it's a lie. I think it's a scapegoat, and I think it's a reason why people overlook you to get to where you want to go. Yeah, you might have to learn a skill for a little bit. You may have to take some certifications for a little bit, but it's not just the skill that you're learning. That skill is going to be the paycheck, is going to be the acquisition, is going to be the company, is going to be the liquidity that you have to continue on. I sat down with a member of the Office of Poverty Reduction, and we had a good conversation. And my main thought process was, how can we rebuild the manufacturing industry in this city? It used to be everywhere here. Now it's a few and far between. I've sat down and talked to a few of the owners of some of these companies here, and they inherited it from their family, and they're just there because they inherited it and they don't have nothing else to do. But they don't have the vision to take it further. They don't have the vigor to want to take it further. And so in my mind, I begin to think, what needs to happen? There needs to be an industry rebirth. And if you ask me, anybody that's going to be doing something like that, they look like you. They look like me. And we're the ones that take it to the next level every time, all the time. And anything that you can think of, we take it to the next level. It's a real blueprint. We're not here to digitally market to you, teach you how to sell copy, A and B tests. Everybody's going to market to you. Everybody's going to advertise to you. Everyone is going to sell you something. The goal here is to invite you so that you can learn and that we can all grow. Like I was just saying earlier, the old saying goes, a rising tide raises all boats. Why are we not raising our boats? The tide is rising. And now I'm the bad guy. Listen, I'm not the bad guy. Unless you're bringing a bad deal to me, then of course I'm gonna make you look, not with any real intent, but you're gonna look crazy to me. Because I'm just gonna ask you questions. And I'm gonna ask those questions in such a way that you're not gonna like my tone, for whatever the case may be. And yeah, maybe that means I am the bad guy, but that's fine. But you're not going to bring a bad deal to the table. I can't go into too many details because of NDAs and whatnot, but it was 4 manufacturing companies all in one, run by 2 guys, a great looking company. It might have been the next level of what needed to happen. The problem was, for my vision, they had union workers, which are great. But the problem with union workers is that they're not that happy to hand over their job when you're community upskilling. You're training people from your community to learn their job. Then that means the union workers get a little protectionist, right? Again, union workers are great, but for the vision of what we're doing, community upskilling, acquisitions and consultation, union workers are not gonna, they don't wanna mesh well with that. So we had to walk away from that deal. It really would have been a great deal, to be honest with you, but it just wasn't gonna work out. And I'm not gonna be the guy holding the bag just for the sake of, oh, we're gonna get this deal done. It doesn't make any sense. But then this is where you start talking about the cost of bad money. Because, okay, second and third order effects. We go into the deal. Great. $2, $3, $4 million company, and then you have 5 different smaller companies within that company that you have to run. You have 2 cohorts of those companies that are union workers. 2 more cohorts that are regular workers, which probably would have been great, and then another cohort that hasn't even been stood up yet. So now you have to stand up a 5th cohort, deal with 2 cohorts of union workers, and then you're working with two cohorts of workers that you actually like. Listen, I like good deals. I like things simple though. I don't like a lot of complications, and I definitely don't like it when you're dragging your feet. I don't like to play those games. Being in the Army for 20 years does not allow me to be comfortable with playing games with people, because that's not something that I do. I told my wife, I say, listen, I love the kids, man. We can play, have a good old time, this and that. But one thing I'm not going to do, I'm not going to sit here and argue with no kid. I don't have time for that, because we're not even at the same brain power. So why are we arguing? Same situation. I'm not playing with you. I'm not playing no games. That's the cost of the bad money that you don't want to take. When you start looking at what's going to happen when you jump into that deal, ultimately, it's going to come to you, right? Another deal. In my mind, I've already said no. I had a conversation with the lady Friday. Was it Friday? Thursday. And dragging feet. I've called you 2 times today. I text you later in the day. And she tells me, I didn't get no phone calls. Like, lady, listen, where are we on this deal? The diligence is done. What are we doing? Well, I can't get in touch with. You know what? No problem. It's not your fault. We'll talk later. In my mind, I've already hung up the phone. The deal is done. I can't play these games, but I'm not the bad guy, because ultimately, right? Was David a bad guy when he slayed Goliath? He was a bad guy to the Goliath and his army, but to the Israelites, David was the hero. I don't have time to be somebody else's bad guy. I'm my own hero. They always say that you need to have a why, right? The why is the reason that you continue on, that you push through a lot of the hard times. The why is the reason that you will persevere. Even when all the BS is coming your way, you'll persevere. When you're hungry, tired, cold, whatever the case may be, you got to have a why, right? Everybody says that, you know, and I've done every type of job. You got to have a why. And, you know, I think it may be cliche, probably, but for me, it's my son and my daughter. And it's not just this, my son and my daughter. It's the fact that they have to, or the goal is for them to carry on the legacy. The legacy that their mom and I are teaching them, helping them learn, be entrepreneurs, figure it out. What is the thing that people want, that you want to give them? Things of that nature. But ultimately, so they understand the vision and they take the legacy of the vision and go from there. I want them to have an inheritance and all of that stuff. That's great. But I really want them to carry on the legacy of the vision, right? Moving us forward, moving us to the next level of where we're supposed to be. Going from 0 to 1, as Peter Thiel would say, right? But building that vision so that they can carry that legacy on, that's the why. And then, of course, you know, the fact that they're kids, and my daughter gave me a challenge. She said, man, you got to get rich while I'm still in school. I thought it was funny. But building that vision so that they understand the reason why we do the things that we do. And then perhaps, hopefully, they too will carry on that legacy. So that's the why. So you want your why to be impactful. You want it to mean something to you, just like in the movie Inception, the little totem. It means something to you. You know, it doesn't got to mean nothing to me or anybody else, but to you specifically. Because it's about breaking the cycle of nothing. That's where we've been for so long. It's just nothing, nowhere, and nobody, right? So now we got to break that cycle. Because it's not just making money, right? Go back to the community upskilling, right? You teaching young guys. Like if somebody would have told me when I was 19 years old, I think, maybe 19, I think is what it was. Like, hey, look, this is how you build a business. These are the things that you need to build that business. I probably would have did it. Nobody taught me nothing. I mean, school, all that stuff. But like to actually teach you something? No. So you really want to break those cycles, starting with this is what we're going to be doing and this is how we're going to be getting paid. And you can work with me if you want to, or you can take these same skills and go do your own thing wherever you decide to do so. All I ask is that you pull somebody up next to you, right? Because that's how we grow it. Like, you don't just take the information. They used to say back in the day, the game is to be sold, not to be told, right? That was what they told us. And I think Master P said, no, you're supposed to tell them the game, or maybe it was somebody else. I don't remember. But I'm not going to sell it to you. I'm going to pay you. You're going to learn it with me. And then we're going to grow together and get more together. And we're going to grow from that. But you got to break those cycles. And that's really, honestly, what that why is about, what that legacy is about, what that vision is about, is breaking those cycles. Because that's going to be what matters, right? 5 years from now, did you try? Did you attempt? Or was you still scrolling? You scrolled for a whole year. Man, what'd you find out? Man, the world is ending. When did you find that out? Last year. Then what? Right? So, put something with something. That's what we used to say. Put something with something. It's time to make something. Second and third order. It's not just a name, right? It's a movement. We're transforming the American workforce one entrepreneur at a time. You got to change the way that your mind builds itself. Then you're going to build something else, right? You're going to just start building, because that's what it's all about. Looking at the horizon, you realize, or when you get older, you realize, as you mature, you realize that horizon is forever going to be in the distance. You're never going to reach it. And that's okay. Because with that, we're still becoming something greater than what we thought we were and that what we thought we would become. All money ain't good money. We're not chasing the bag. We're not chasing the next deal. We're not chasing every deal. We're going after very specific things. We're resetting the process. We're bringing the industrial rebirth. We're going to put it on our backs, and we're going to show you how it gets done. I'm Queston, just like the word question, without an I, because it's not all about me. It's about the second and third order effects that we are bringing about.